So it's started.
Okay, thanks very much, Kate. So, kia ora koutou, welcome to today's Audit and Risk Subcommittee meetings. It is Wednesday, the 23rd of April. We do have quite a full agenda. Papers are as per the work plan largely. So we will get through all of that. But before we go into the meeting itself, Councillor Briggs, could I please ask you to take us through the karakia?
Certainly, Chair. Me noi tātou, let us pray. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hia ki ana te atākura, he teo, he hoka, he hauhu, tihei, mauri ora.
Thank you, Councillor Briggs. I'm going to declare a precedence of business, and that's pursuant to Standing Order 10.4, that the subcommittee will consider item 5, which is the update on artificial intelligence at Council at the end of the public agenda. So I give precedence of business to the other reports, which means that we will commence with item 6, which is the external audit update of Seaview Marina, and that is on page 46 of the agenda. John Whittle from Audit New Zealand has given his apologies for this report and also for the next report of Urban Plus Limited. But I believe we do have Tim Lidgard, the Chief Executive, and Peter Steele, the Board Chair of Seaview Marina, joining us for this item. So I'd like to welcome both of them and pass over to Darren Youth to speak to the item, please. Go ahead, Darren.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd like to just present the update for the external audit. So I'll take the papers being read. I think the main thing to note is that planning is well underway, with the interim beginning around the 3rd of June and working through to hopefully sign off by about the 18th of September, which is well within the statutory deadline. Just also want to note that John is still currently the appointed auditor until a replacement will be appointed. But I think it's about all. Yeah, and the papers attached as Appendix 1. So you're on mute. Sorry.
It's too early in the morning for me. My mistake. I'm sorry. I've neglected to ask members of the committee if there are any conflicts of interest that need to be declared regarding items on today's agenda. So if I could just ask that question. I'm seeing no. Thank you. So thank you very much, Darren. And I'll ask if there are any questions on this report that any member has. If you could please raise your hand. I've not seen any hands go up, so therefore I am going to move the motion, and that is that the subcommittee receives and notes the Audit New Zealand audit plan for Seaview Marina Limited annual report for the year ended 30 June 2025 as attached as Appendix 1 to the report. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Briggs. Is there any debate, members? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Raise your hand. Thank you. I declare the motion carried. Thank you, Darren. So please don't run away. Item 7, the external audit update Urban Plus Limited Group. As I said earlier, John Whittle from Audit New Zealand has sent his apologies. And so I do believe Daniel Moriarty, the Chief Executive, and Cameron Madgwick, the Board Chair of Urban Plus Limited, are joining us for this item. So welcome to you both. Darren, again, I'll pass to you to please speak to the report.
Okay, so again, this report is very similar to the Seaview Marina. So again, planning is well underway and the timetable is very similar, with a plan to sign off around about the 16th of September, which is well within the statutory deadline. And again, John is still currently the appointed auditor until a replacement is found.
Thank you, Darren. Members of the committee, do you have any questions on this report? No, I see no hands there. So I'll move the motion, and that is that the subcommittee receives and notes the Audit New Zealand audit plan for Urban Plus Limited Group annual report for the year ended 30 June 2025, attached as Appendix 1 to the report. May I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Councillor Morgan. Members of the committee, is there any debate on this item? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Against, say no. I see a number of hands there, so I will declare the motion carried. Thank you, Darren, but again, please don't run away because we're going to continue with you. Item 8, the external audit update for Hutt City Council, which is on page 82 of the agenda. I'd like to welcome Debbie Bradfield, who is the Audit Director from Audit New Zealand, in attendance for this item. Debbie has been appointed to replace John Whittle as Council's Audit Director. Welcome, Debbie. Thank you for joining us. And I understand you're running 2 audit meetings at the moment, so please do feel free to leave as soon as you need to. Darren, I'll pass to you to please speak to this report.
Yeah, thank you. So again, for the Hutt City planning is well underway. We have already had our first interim review done, and there will be a pre-audit review starting off in mid-June, with the final audit plan to be around about the 16th of September at this point. But we are still finalising Audit New Zealand is still finalising some resourcing issues, so those dates may change slightly. The key date for us is that we're hoping to sign off on the 7th of October, which is pre-election. So we're hoping to have all this wrapped up before the elections happen. Other than that, it's fairly straightforward, just tight deadlines, similar issues as prior year as set out in paragraph 6. And I'll hand over to Debbie if Debbie wants to add anything further.
Thank you, Darren. Debbie, is there anything you'd like to add?
Nothing from our side, unless there's a question anybody's got.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. I'll then ask members of the committee if they have any questions on this report. As Darren has said, intend to sign off prior to the election, which is an important point, but also clearly, obviously, we always have quite a tight time frame to work to. Councillor Stellinger, I see your hand's just gone up, so please go ahead.
Chair, I just had a question in relation to the audit plan, and in particular the valuation of our water assets. Given what we now know, and the auditors know too, of course, there's more certainty, if I can use that word, over the valuation being that we have in our books at the moment being above market value, given the reports that we've received from Wellington Water Limited. So I'm assuming there is a strong risk that we will need to revalue those assets downward. I'm just wondering, given the scale of the work involved, whether that is likely to happen, and if so, what planning is underway. Thank
you, Councillor Stellinger. Darren, I'll pass to you or to Jenny, please, to answer that question.
Okay, so yes, there will be, or there is likely to be some issues with the valuation. So we have engaged WSP to do a fair value assessment on the values. That is currently underway. They are taking into account the reports that have been issued out of Wellington Water, plus obviously updating in terms of market conditions. So we're hoping to have that information through shortly. And the information that WSP will provide will be sufficient enough, if we need to adjust our books. So we won't need to go through a full valuation process like we did last year. So I suppose the key thing is it's in hand.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Councillor Stellinger. Are there any further questions? No. I'll then move the motion, and that is that Subcommittee 1 receives and notes the Audit New Zealand audit plan for the Group Annual Report for the year ended 30 June 2025, attached as Appendix 1 to the report. 2, note the statutory deadline for the completion of the Group Annual Report 2023-2024 is 31 October 2025. 3, notes the planned external audit and review processes, which include reporting back to the Audit and Risk Subcommittee. And 4, notes the focus areas for the external audit, which includes the performance measures related to Wellington Water Limited. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Stellinger. Members of the committee, is there any debate on this item? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye, or raise your hand. Against, say no. Thank you. I see hands there in the majority, so I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you, Darren, and thank you also, Debbie, for joining us. If you need to leave, please feel free to do so. Thank you. That takes us to item 9, the risk management and assurance update, which is on page 107 of the agenda pack. And I'd like to welcome Nishana Reddy and ask Nishana to speak to the item, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. So this is a regular update on the progress we're making on our strategic risk around monitoring and managing them and identification of new risk. So the last update was presented on the 26th of November. We now have 11 risks. We have added the Wellington Water value for money reports following the report releases, because Council does have significant concerns around the value being delivered. The key findings, these reports are highlighted out in paragraph 11. This new risk does have an overall residue rating of high, and it's due to the amount of uncertainty in the space. All other risks, overall residue ratings remain the same. So we've got 9 at a medium rating and 1 at a low. The internal audit plan is on track for completion at year end, and there is ongoing work on the conflicts of interest to further improve that process. So
Sorry, we just seem to have lost you, Nishana. You've frozen.
thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Nishana. Would you mind just repeating what you just said just before that point about you are happy to take questions, because you seemed to freeze and we lost your audio? It's like it's happened again. Okay, we might just go straight.
Oh, sorry, Sue, I didn't hear you. I lost your audio.
Yeah, no, we're just asking. There was whatever the sentence was that you said just prior to saying you were happy to take questions. Would you mind just repeating that, because we lost you? No, it's not going to work for us. Look, we'll just go to questions on the report. If you have any, could you please raise your hand? It's Councillor Stallinger.
Sorry, it took me a while to navigate. I just had a few questions around the Wellington Water issue. Bear with me, I'm sorry, because I'm just only on one screen at the moment. And they just relate to the strength and clarity of some of the comments, given we've now got very clear information and statements from Wellington Water that they have not been providing us with value for money. So I think we don't want to be saying in our reports there's perceptions, or even in one instance we're saying there's perceived perceptions. It's a fact that we haven't been receiving value for money. So I think we should just word the risks according to the circumstances. And I'm referring to page 112 in that regard. Also on page 111, I just have a feeling, not just in this report, but with other comments from Wellington Water and even within our own council, that there's almost a desire to find explanations for some of the variances and potential losses, rather than adopting what I'd call an auditor's mind and challenging some of the comments which somewhat dismiss the scale of possible losses that may have arisen. And if I just give one example, and I haven't delved through all comments, but this is on page 111, the first bullet point under the heading ACOM. It talks about expenditure tripling, and I know there were some issues as to how that particular graph that's being referenced were referred to in an inaccurate way. But I do disagree with the note there that says this is largely due to the high number of reactive repairs, i.e. leak fixes per kilometre when compared to other councils. Now, aspects of that statement may be true, but in actual fact, our costs tripled, but yet we were not receiving any more leak fixes than we used to in the past. So I guess my point is that that explanation doesn't explain why our costs went up so much. So I'd really appreciate us keeping an open mind on all of these matters rather than latching on to a possible explanation. And I know this isn't originated from us because these are the sort of comments we've been hearing from Wellington Water. So those were my general comments. And I suppose my question, if I can put it that way, is whether we can change some of the discussion to reflect the issues I've mentioned. I do have a final one while I'm just talking, so I don't interrupt again on this matter, and that is that there really is a lack of commentary about how our internal control system failed to detect these things on a timely basis, and then what we're doing about it. It's more just referring to what's gone wrong at Wellington Water and how we're overseeing their remediation of that. So I guess I have a specific question on that one, and that is, are we going to be receiving a report on how we missed this and what we are changing within our own council to ensure it doesn't happen again? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Stellinger. I'm just going to make a comment and then I'm going to see whether Joe would like to comment or before Nishana responds. And just remind members that we can only report on information that is provided to us on this matter. This committee does not have the ability to go straight into Wellington Water and ask those types of questions. So I just want to put that clarification on the table. I can assure you that I am asking questions about this as well, and through other avenues other than just this council as to some of these issues. But also it is important to deal with fact. I appreciate that, Councillor Stellinger. So that is what everybody is trying to get to the bottom of. So Joe, I'm just going to ask you if you want to make any comment or answer any of those questions, because I'm not sure that Nishana really can answer some of those questions.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Stellinger. A number of things. The Strategic Risk Register specifically put this in as acknowledging this was an issue we needed to manage, including the reporting of it. In relation to, members will be aware because they've been briefed, we've had a discussion at council, at full council, that in relation to the ACOM piece of the work, which was reported as 3 times higher, then in fact the basis upon which that was reported was different. For example, it wasn't on leaks per kilometre. Members have received that explanation directly, and Wellington Water will be returning to speak to the long-term plan subcommittee in about a month's time to go deeper, because what we identified, and again, I know members are aware of this because we've had the discussion, was that the area where we were most concerned, if you like, in terms of looking not at what was in the press, but in relation to the facts and where we may not be entirely satisfied that we receive value for money, was in relation to some of the capital renewals, specifically the capital works that were non-tendered that went through the capital panel. And Bruce Hodgins and the team have been working through with Wellington Water the specific list to identify what the scale of the problem might be and what we will do about it. And that will be reported, as I say, back through Wellington Water with ourselves to the LTP subcommittee and then on to council. In relation to the controls we had, you can see in the strategic risk register, which is on the agenda as a matter of record. Clearly, next time we look at the risk register, that will be updated to reflect the facts as they are at that time, which are bound to be different, given that I've explained that explanations are already there and in place. You will see that the current controls that are there, some planned mitigations, and I am on record, Chair, when I was asked by Councillor Stellinger, amongst others, in terms of my reflections of what, if anything, I would have done differently in relation to our work with Wellington Water. I'm satisfied that Jenny, Bruce and I hold them to account, that members get to speak to Wellington Water directly. However, What I also said, and I will repeat it again here for the record, is with the benefit of hindsight and on reflection, despite the fact that the council significantly increased its capital programme and the amount of money it was putting into water investment, I did not change the establishment in terms of the staffing numbers that I had in place, that if you like, I took what I had when I arrived and I maintained that. I didn't increase it. And with the benefit of hindsight, I think I should have addressed my mind to that as the investment increased and acted appropriately. I say that then, and I say it now. I don't think it would have solved all the problems, but I think it may have given us better oversight. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for raising that, Councillor Stallinger. I think you have got quite a comprehensive answer there. And I'd say, Mr. Mayor, your hand is up. So please go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. With your indulgence, probably slightly a comment rather than a question. Sure. But I suppose we've got to be careful here when we talk about what is fact. There is still a lot of water to go under the bridge around understanding the extent of this issue. And I know that there will be an opportunity for council to speak directly with Wellington Water around what it means for Lower Hutt, which might be quite different to what it means for the other shareholding councils in relation to these issues. So it's really important that we don't try and hang our hat on maybe comments from the Chief Executive of Wellington Water, broad comments, and then saying that suddenly that's a fact, when actually no one has shown me any facts yet when you look at the report of exactly the extent of the problem. So as the Chief Executive said, Joe, the facts seem to be moving and changing. So I wouldn't be calling them facts at the moment. I would say that we're still in the understanding phase to hopefully establish some facts at the end of it. But in my conversations with Pat Doherty, I think some of the concern is we won't know exactly the extent of potential value for money concerns for some time because of the way things operated within the panel. So yeah, I just want to be really clear with that. And I think the main thing is, as I agree with Councillor Stallinger, is that we all have an open mind to make sure that we are challenging the information that comes back to us and ultimately holding Wellington Water to account, ourselves to account, and hopefully setting up the new entity for success as well in any changes that we look to make.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And your comment continues sort of my statement as well, as we need to make sure we get dealing with fact, and that is obviously a matter that is still subject. Wellington Water Limited is still subject to audit. In fact, we are waiting on that audit opinion to be completed, which will give us another set of information and some findings that are from the auditors to consider. Are there any further questions? No, thank you. I'll then move the motion, and that is that the subcommittee 1 receives and notes the information, 2 notes there are 11 risks, there were previously 10, on Council's strategic risk register, 3 notes there is 1 new risk, risk number 1, Wellington Water Limited value for money, has been added to the strategic risk register, 4 notes the new risk has an overall residual risk rating of high, 5 notes the update on other activities contained within the report, and 6 notes the risk register as at 31 March 2025, attached as Appendix 1 to the report. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Is there any debate? Councillor Stallinger, are you wishing to speak and debate on this item?
Well, yes. So it's more of a question on now the motion has been moved, and that is, will there be any change to the way the issue is described? Given my comments on use of terms like perceived perception and so on, rather than just stating what we actually know.
Councillor Stallinger, I'll just remind you of the date of the report, 31 March 2025, and also Joe, I'm going to ask you whether you wish to come back in to respond to Councillor Stallinger's subsequent question.
Thank you, Chair. I think the fact that we have a new risk, that it is highlighted as the number 1 risk around value for money, says in itself what it is. Again, the facts are unfolding. there will be a further iteration of this risk report, and we will reflect the most current position as and when that's there. I think, as a matter of fact, that record is there. What matters is that it's updated, and I note Councillor Stallinger's comments and will bear that in mind for the next iteration.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Councillor Stallinger. I'll ask again, is there any debate on this item? No, thank you. I'll now move the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Against, say no. Thank you. I see a number of hands there, so I'll declare the motion carried. That takes us to item 10, which is the sensitive expenditure disclosure report, the standing item we have, which is on page 129 of the agenda. Welcome back, Darren. Please speak to the item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I've got nothing further to add, so I'll just take the report as being read. Thank
you. And as I will remind members, obviously, and before the agenda is released, I have a very good look at this. As a number of you know, there's a few things that I usually find and raise questions on. So I will move, ask if there are any questions that any of you have on this report. Thank you. And I should just elaborate on my comment. I'm not finding anything untoward. It's usually I'm asking for tightening of wording to be very specific as to what the matter actually, the expenditure actually is, which is done. So thank you. I'll move the motion, and that is that the subcommittee 1 receives and notes the information, and 2 notes the sensitive expenditure disclosure information attached as Appendix 1 to the report. Sensitive expenditure 1 January 2025 to 31 March 2025. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Briggs. Members of the committee, is there any debate on this item? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Against, say no. I see a number of hands there, so I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you, Darren. That takes us to item 11, the Human Resources Information Systems and Payroll Project Update, which is on page 134 of the agenda. I'd like to welcome Megan Connie-Simons, the Program Manager, to the meeting and also to speak to this report. Please, Megan.
Kia ora koutou. Just briefly, some highlights from the report. I think last time we came to this meeting, we had just completed or we're near completion of phase 1 of our procurement process. We have now completed both phase 1 and phase 2 and have selected a preferred provider. We had some delays over the Christmas break as we had that last procurement meeting the Friday before Christmas and needed to go back to the providers to have some follow-up questions and additional demos just to check a couple of things to make sure that it would work for us. We've had our contracts reviewed by our external lawyers and a contract negotiation plan has been drawn up based on that advice. We're in the middle of contract negotiations and preparing the business case, which will include confirming the budget and a light cost-benefit analysis around that to make sure everything is okay in there. We're looking to wrap up these tasks in the next 2 months, and then once the contracts has been signed, I will be very pleased to let you all know who we have selected and get going with the project.
Thank you, Megan. I'm sure you will be very pleased to get to that point, as will we. Thank you. A lot of work going into this, and if members remember this item, I did agree to defer the update on this to this meeting from our February meeting because frankly there wasn't a lot to report as Megan's just outlined. So thank you for that. Members of the committee, are there any questions? Councillor Stallinger, the floor is yours again. Sorry, you're on mute, Councillor Stallinger.
I beg your pardon. Great to see the progress on this very complex project. I'm just interested in a comment on the degree of confidence we have at this stage. I know there's work to be done on compliance with the most problematic Holidays Act.
Yes, one of our core requirements was that it is compliant with the Holidays Act. The providers that we've selected are very competent in this area, and we had a lot of assurance from them that their system is fully compliant. It was one thing that we specifically asked for them to clarify, and they've come back with to give us a lot of confidence in that area. The other thing we're looking to do is to get some wording in the contracts around Holidays Act compliance that sets us up for both now and in the future if legislation were to change.
Thank you, Megan. Yes, I was just going to make that point, as you'd be seeking an indemnity in your contracts that binds the provider to that assurance now, but as you said, that it is their obligation to make any subsequent amendments should legislation change. Thank you. Any further questions, members? No, thank you. I'll then move the motion, and that is that the report be received and noted. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Stallinger. Members of the committee, is there any debate on this item? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Against, say no. Thank you. I see all hands raised there, so I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you very much, Megan, and look forward to your next update. That takes us to item 12, the Te Pua Horonuku quarterly update on page 137 of the agenda pack. Welcome to Paul Hewitt, the Head of Transport. Paul, I ask you to speak to this item, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Work is progressing well on Te Pua Horonuku at this point in time. Work was progressing to our original program with a completion date set at around August 2026. Since the last meeting, a new challenge has arisen, and that is the completion date of Te Ara Tupua, the Petone to Noronga cycleway. That has moved forward to March 2026, and the Eastern Bay cycleway is largely pre-dedicated on having a completion date that aligns with the Petone to Noronga cycle path. Now, the team are working busily to establish a 3-lane closure strategy, which would be an amendment to our existing consent conditions for the project. And this will give us the opportunity to open up another bay to work concurrently with our existing bays and basically accelerate our program to bring the completion date for Te Pua Horonuku in line with Te Ara Tupua. That's a piece of work that is in motion at the moment, and we'll be looking, if successful, to have the 3-lane closures in operation from August of this year. I'll take the rest of the report as read and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I've seen Mr. Mayor's hand go up, so please go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Paul. So just to clarify, you're saying that we would look to accelerate the program to complete all of the bays by March 2026?
Through the chair, yes, Mr. Mayor, that's what we're seeking to do.
Okay. And also, I think that it will be, I know, don't mean to tell you how to suck eggs, but any further traffic disruption, particularly from August timeframe, which is always an interesting time to navigate, it is going to be important to engage the community board and obviously the local ward councillor on that as well. Because I think we have had a lot of goodwill and patience from the residents of that area as we've done this work, but further disruption may just create a bit of angst, particularly in that period.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, there will be a good comms plan that will go hand in hand with these changes, which will include community boards and general notifications to the public as well about exactly what's happening out there.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Paul. Any further questions, members? No, thank you. I'll then move the motion, and that is that the subcommittee receives and notes the information. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. Members of the committee, is there any debate on this item? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Against, say no. Thank you. I see hands there, so I will declare the motion carried. Thank you very much, Paul. That takes us to item 13, the Three Waters update on page 142 of the agenda pack. Welcome, Bruce. Please go ahead and speak to your report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's two matters that I just want to give an update on. The first one is in respect of paragraph 10. So we had the closing of submissions on earlier this week, and we had 282 submissions came through, and around 74% were in favour of the preferred option. The second matter is in relation to paragraph 15, the main wastewater pipe. So the last section of liner was completed last night successfully, and so all the liner has now been completed, and it's just the reinstatement works around the manholes and some other bits and pieces that will be done, but it's certainly run to program and will be completed in time for reopening on Sunday. That was all that I had to add.
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate those updates. Members of the committee, are there any questions that you have for Bruce on the report? Councillor Stallinger, go ahead.
Thanks again, Chair. First of all, just a quick comment to congratulate our team in Wellington Water on the excellent work with the State Highway 2 pipeline replacement project. It seems to have gone exceedingly well, quickly and smoothly, as someone who drives through there every day. So well done on that. My question concerns paragraph, let me just switch to it, paragraph 12. It was interesting to hear about the value for money reviews the DIA is involved with. Wasn't aware of that, so thanks for the info. I'm wondering if we can have more information about that. You know, do they provide a report, for example, that we could see? I guess it's very interesting and just comes on top of the other information we've received from reports out of Wellington Water about the costs. Yeah, I'd be interested to know just what's the scale of difference. So the term there used is much higher than the national average. And I guess our pipes are old, so maybe it's not a complete surprise that that's the case. Yeah, just is there any more information we can receive in relation to the review that they've undertaken, please?
Bruce, are you able to respond?
Yes, yes, certainly we can find out if there's further information. My understanding is there's been ongoing discussion between DIA and our regional team that are pulling together the WSDP that needs to be submitted later this year. And so they're just providing some initial feedback in terms of the numbers that are going into that WSD and have made some comment in respect of being aware of the value for money reports. So I don't think they've done any detailed analysis or anything like that. It's just initial response back to the team. And so I think the process that is happening at the moment is quite beneficial in terms of us working with DIA or the regional team to make sure that what we do present is going to, pass muster, basically. So they've raised some concerns. We're looking at them and we'll address them.
Thank you, Bruce. I also, Councillor Stallinger, I'm aware that the work that DIA are actually doing, as Bruce has just commented on, they're actually doing across all of the proposed new water entities. They have to have a good look at this. So this isn't just specific to Wellington Water, this is across all entities. But also the other challenge in this is to be able for them to identify correctly what should be apportioned as capital versus what should be apportioned as operating cost in terms of renewals and maintenance. It's also partly the elephant remaining in the room is still the correct value of transfer of assets into the new entities. And again, this is not Wellington Water specific, this is all entities other than Watercare, but also the calculation of the debt that should be transferred across into these new entities at the same time. So this is a very, very complex question and piece of work, but that is actually what it all relates to. So I trust that's helpful. Are there any other further questions, members of the committee? No, thank you. I'll then move the motion, and that is that the Subcommittee 1 notes that Wellington Water Limited has advised it will not be able to implement all of the actions within its organisational capability plan due to funding constraints. 2, notes a recent government announcement to bring forward the Commerce Commission's monitoring role under local water done well for Wellington Water Limited. 3, notes that the Department of Internal Affairs has some concerns with the proposed investment program in the Water Services Delivery Plan, which are being worked through with the Regional Local Water Done Well coordinating team. And 4, notes that the preferred tenderer for the second stage odour improvement works at the Seaview wastewater treatment plant is indicating in its work program the ability to meet the completion date set by the abatement notice. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Stellinger. Members of the committee, is there any debate on this item? No, thank you. I'll then put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye, or raise your hand. Against, say no. Thank you. I see all hands there, so I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you very much, Bruce. Item 14, the Comply with Legal Compliance Survey results, page 146 of the agenda. Again, this is a regular report to this committee. I'd like to welcome Latna and ask Latna to speak to the item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're pleased with the responsiveness of our staff in completing the survey. Just some keynotes. We have a couple of non-compliances reported around internal process improvement, on the need for training and additional resourcing, but all of these non-compliances have an action plan, and most of them are already resolved. So the remaining 8 are regularly monitored by staff and CLT until they're resolved. Other than that, Madam Chair, this report can be taken as read.
Thank you, Latna. Members of the committee, are there any questions that you have on this report? No, I don't see any hands there, so I'll move the motion, and that is that the Subcommittee 1 notes the report on the results from the Comply with Legal Compliance Survey for the period 1 July 2024 to 31 December 2024. 2, notes that out of the 31 non-compliances recorded during the survey, 23 are already resolved. Once the duplicates from the remaining 8 non-compliances have been removed, 5 corrective actions remain. These are listed in the attachment titled List of Remaining Unresolved Corrective Actions. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Members of the committee, is there any debate on this item? Councillor Stellinger, are you wishing to speak in debate or ask a question?
Debate.
Debate, okay, please go ahead.
Just to congratulate the staff on what looks to be a very thorough process, getting responses from all requests sent out, and the thorough follow-up of any issues raised. So well done. Thank
you, Councillor Stellinger. I'm sure Latna and team will take that and also pass that feedback back. It is great to see such a high response rate, Latna. That often doesn't occur with something like this, so well done. Any other debate, members? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Against, say no. See all hands there, so I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you, Latna. Keep up the good work. That takes us to item 15, which is an information item, again, standing item on this agenda, the Audit and Risk Subcommittee Forward Work Programme for the calendar year 2025, which is on page 151 of the agenda. I'll just ask if there are any questions regarding the Forward Work Programme. It is intended to make sure that you know what to expect on this agenda. It also enables officers to prepare their reports on a timely basis. And we do add 1 or 2 things and move things around, obviously, to be flexible with the business and issues that might arise during a year. So are there any questions that you have, members? No, thank you. I'll move the motion, and that is that the subcommittee receives and notes the Forward Programme for 2025 attached as Appendix 1 to the memorandum. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Edwards. I now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. All in favour say aye. Raise your hand. Against say no. Thank you. I'll declare the motion carried. That takes us back, having declared the precedent of business. We're now going back to item 5, which is the recommendation to Council, the update on artificial intelligence at Council on page 11 of the agenda. I'd like to welcome Jared Griffiths and ask Jared, please, to speak to your report before I open for any questions.
Morena koutou. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take the paper as read and just make some very brief comments. The paper details other work officers have done to date in adopting AI, particularly since the first update to the Audit and Risk Subcommittee in November last year. So you'll see there's quite a bit of work that's happened in the intervening period. The use of AI has the real potential to transform the way that we do our work and deliver services, and we're starting to see exactly that. We know that AI use is not without risk, though we believe we have strong controls in place to uphold your trust and, importantly, the trust of the community. We aspire to be leaders in the ethical and responsible use of AI, and our current approach is really about enabling that. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Jared. The first question, if you'll indulge me, members, is actually going to come from me, and then I'll open to questions from you. And it's from the basis that Jared is, I'm not sitting on other council committees or anything like that, but also that I picked note that the initiatives and outcomes are to be aligned with the LTP. I just wondered if you could clarify for me, please, the process to be followed for council to actually, we're going to recommend these to council for approval, these motions, is for council to actually approve those. Is that going to be part of the LTP subcommittee process, or is it going to full council? If you could just clarify for me.
So the process following this meeting will be direct recommendation to council. So on the basis that it's been principally reported through Audit and Risk because it's a risk-based initiative, particularly the partnership with PwC, and it's out of planned budget because it's been an investor save initiative. So appropriate for full council to consider that.
No, thank you, and that's the reason why I asked the question as well. So thank you. If we could just capture the response in the minutes, please, Kate. Thank you. Appreciate your indulgence, members, and thank you, Jared, for responding to that. Are there any further questions? I don't see any hands there. So I'm going to move the motion. Please bear with me because this is quite extensive, and it is that the subcommittee recommends that Council 1 notes that Council has made strong progress on artificial intelligence AI initiatives since the first update to the Audit and Risk Subcommittee in November 2024, including the rollout of 150 AI tool licenses and the development of 15 custom AI assistants. 2 notes that the AI adoption is already estimated to save 44,000 hours of staff time annually, with teams increasingly developing and using AI tools independently. 3 notes that the AI Evolution project is being delivered under an invest to save model with phased costs and a positive return on investment projected by financial year 2026-2027. 4 notes the implementation of a structured benefits management approach and a new AI risk management framework, including a risk tiering system to support responsible use. 5 notes the proposed phase 2 of the AI Evolution project, which includes expanding licenses and enabling end-to-end process automation. 6 notes the Audit and Risk Subcommittee will receive a further update on AI progress at its meeting in June 2025. 7 acknowledges and supports the ongoing AI initiatives, including the AI Evolution project and continuation of the strategic partnership with PwC. And lastly, 8 continues to commit leveraging AI technologies to enhance operational efficiency, reduce costs, and improve service delivery while building internal capability and aligning outcomes with the long-term plan. So I'll now take a breath and ask if I could please have a second up for the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the committee, is there any debate you wish to have on this item? Councillor Stallinger, please go ahead.
Yes, because I'm talking a bit too much, perhaps, but I just wanted to relay an example, not so much for our team's benefit, but just for other members, perhaps. I authored a consultancy report recently, and as part of it, I had a researcher, an analyst, update the researched publications on an issue for the last few years, which he dutifully did and gave me a series of summaries of new research, complete with bibliography and everything laid out. It all sounded fantastic. Incorporated a number of them in the report I was authoring, and during the final quality review, identified that the AI tool, I think it might have been ChatGPT, but wouldn't be quoted on that. Everything was complete make-believe. The AI tool had just invented research, presented as if it very convincingly, and fortunately for me, it was removed before I submitted the report. So I'll just mention that as a bit of a warning, and as Jared mentioned, a lot of benefits, fantastic, but a bit risky at times if you're not checking up on things. Thanks.
Correct, Councillor Stillinger. I'm absolutely right. Still needs to be checked. Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
No, thank you. And certainly reiterate what Councillor Stillinger just said. I've heard quite a few different examples of that exact same issue. Just want to say that, just acknowledge the team on this. I know that we are a bit of a leader in New Zealand when it comes to how we embrace and also work with AI, but also just the acknowledging while we are a leader in that space, and I know that the team constantly have at the forefront of their mind of while there's the positive impacts of efficiencies and services for our residents, there's also the potential impacts on staff, and I know that that's something that the team are really conscious of in how they go about this. So I just wanted to obviously reinforce that approach, but I think it's an exciting opportunity and something that if we don't look to embrace it, we'll be left behind. So just wanted to thank the team and their work on this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure your comments there are appreciated by the team. Is there any further debate, members? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Against, say no. I see all hands there, so I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. And thank you, Jared and team. I've received no questions for this meeting, so I am going to move to item 17, which is the exclusion of the public. Does any member have any question why I'm going to move to that motion now? Thank you. I'll move the motion, and that is that the public be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting, which is namely reports number 18, update on artificial intelligence at council, the confidential appendix 4, and report number 19, Te Wai Takamori o Te Awa Kairangi, the Riverlink update. But I will ask that Ben Wakely from PwC be permitted to remain after the public section of the meeting, as he has knowledge of the update of artificial intelligence accounts and matter that will assist the subcommittee in relation to that item. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Members of the committee, is there any debate on exclusion of public, please? No, thank you. I'll now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please say aye. Against, say no. I see all hands raised there, so I'll declare the motion carried. Kate, could I please ask you